Okay, so you've just completed some investigations, and so first of all, if two angles in the included side of one triangle are congruent to two angles in the included side of another triangle, then what could you conclude? Then what are congruent?
The triangles.
The triangles are congruent. There we go. The triangles are congruent. So likewise, if two angles and a non-included side of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding two angles in the non-included side of another triangle, then what can you conclude?
The angles are congruent.
The triangles are congruent.
The triangles.
Okay, now, sometimes you will see that SAA conjecture written as angle, angle, side. Okay, so sometimes you will see that last one written as angle, angle, side, not necessarily side, angle, angle. So, last but not least, we're going to go ahead and look at the following.
Wow.
Our instructions here, and this is number 9 taken from your book. Okay, so let's go through number 9 together. We are on page 229, number 9. Instructions. Determine whether the triangles are congruent and name the congruence shortcut. If the triangles cannot be shown to be congruent, right cannot be determined. So in looking at these triangles, it says triangle ALT is congruent to triangle INT. So let's look at our diagram. And looking at our diagram, we've got two parallel lines. So consequently, with two parallel lines, we know that this angle and this angle are congruent. Why? Alternate interior angles. Likewise, we know that this angle here and this angle here are congruent. Why? Alternate interior as well. So now in order for us to apply a congruence shortcut, I need to determine if there's any sides that are congruent. So are there any sides that are congruent? Anything that we can conclude? Because we've got two angles. We also, I suppose, we could also say that this angle and this angle are the same. Why?
Because, it's the thing that's vertical.
Vertical angles. So I've got three angles are congruent to three angles. Now, in order to prove these triangles are congruent, I've got to find a side congruent to another side. So do you know any of those?
Oh, I and L.
RT and LT.
Oh, yeah.
How do you know IT and LT are congruent?
No,
Because
it'd be
angle
it'd be
I.
NT and LT
How do you know those are congruent?
because of the conjectures and the parallel lines.
No, it's
You don't know those sides are congruent. You only know those angles are congruent.
IT and AT.
IT and AT, once again, you don't know those are congruent. You have no information to conclude those are congruent. They might look congruent, but you have nothing to prove it. The only thing you know in this picture is three angles. So as a result, for three angles, what you're going to now type for this one, you can't prove that any of the sides are the same. So your answer actually on this one is going to be cannot be determined. Okay, so this is number 9, and the reason being is because you don't know any sides. All you know are the angles. Okay, so this is kind of what you're going to have to do on each of these problems. Your assignment is going to be found on pages 229 through 230. The problems are 4 through 18. Probably going to have a quiz tomorrow.